The temple was the center of everything. The sacrifices, the priests, the very presence of God. To touch it was sacred. To defile it was death. So when Jesus said, "In this place is one greater than the temple," it wasn't a metaphor. It was a declaration. One that shook the system and exposed everything that was hiding. The Pharisees lived by the letter, and the temple, that was their anchor, their pride, their power. Exodus 25:8, God says, "Let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them." And for generations, they believed that was where God lived. So when Jesus said he was greater than the temple, it wasn't just blasphemy, it was war. The temple was elaborate, lavish, but there was something missing. God had left the building, and religion had taken its place. So Jesus walks in, not as a visitor, but as the rightful owner. And he does what no priest dared to do. He flips the tables, confronts the system, and in Matthew 21:13 reprimands them. "You've turned my Father's house into a den of thieves." But then he says something that would mark him for death. John 2:19, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." They thought he meant bricks, but he meant his body. Because the presence of God wasn't behind a veil anymore. It was walking among them. Everything the temple symbolized, the law, the sacrifice, the dwelling place of God, was now standing there in human flesh, and they couldn't see it. Colossians 2:16 and 17 says, "Let no man judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a holy day, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ." The shadow of the temple had served its purpose, because the substance that was casting the shadow had arrived. They clung to rituals, while the real, the tangible, stood right in front of them. The temple was where God once met with man, but now God had stepped out of the building, and the religious leaders, they were still guarding the shadow, the Sabbath, the sacrifices, the structure, all signs pointing forward. But when the fulfillment came, they rejected it. So, let me say it plainly. You can mark the day and still miss the divine. The temple was holy, but Jesus was holier. The building was beautiful, but the builder had arrived, and they didn't even recognize him. You can attend every Sunday, sing every song, dress the part, and still never encounter the one all of it was meant to reveal. Jesus is greater than the temple, because he is the presence. So here's the question for 21st century believers today. Are you holding on to the system while the Spirit is calling you deeper? Are you defending the building while ignoring the builder? The temple was a shadow. Jesus is the substance. And in the next episode, we will go straight to the core. What did God actually mean by Sabbath rest? And what if it's not a day at all? Subscribe and come back ready to be uncomfortable.